Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the most important page of your website, the About Us page. I want to give everyone a heads up that this is not just a presentation, it is a conversation. So feel free to post any questions or comments to YouTube or tweet directly at us at RPS123shoot, SHOOT. And if you're listening to this after the live broadcast, still ask away. We will follow up on any comments that are posted on YouTube. All right. So for those of you who don't know us, I'm Amanda Sett, and I am the creative director here at Rock, Paper, Scissors. And we are a branding and marketing firm, and we've been doing this for about 30 years now. So we've seen a lot of change, and we've done a lot of changing ourselves to keep up with the time. We focus more on our client's brand and that experience, and not just the logo and the marketing collateral, just to give you some background. And today, for our conversation about the About Us page, I have Valerie Kinney, our content marketer, with us. All right.
Okay, so to get started, your website is often one of the first impressions a prospective customer will have of your business. And out of all those pages on your website, the About Us page is likely to be one of the most popular. It helps set the stage for the experience a customer may have with your brand, and it could even affect their decision to choose your products or services over another. So with that in mind, it's important to craft your About Us page so that it really does truly reflect your brand rather than just simply introducing your business and your team. And I wanted to share this quote from Bernadette Jiwa. I think it totally sums up what an About Us page should do quite well. And it says, "The secret of a great About page is that it is less about the company and more about the reader or prospective customer and their wants or needs." So with that in mind, let's get started. And one of the things that your About Us page needs to do is to build trust with your prospects. You've got to give them a reason to trust you because they've never met you before. And so as they're discovering more about your business, they need to know not only why you deserve their business, but why they should invest their money into your products or services.
This is also a great place to really differentiate yourself. So this page should effectively communicate what makes your brand unique and different from the competition, and why it's worth working with you. It also demonstrates your authority and credibility. And it does this by clearly explaining to the readers why you should do this, by clearly explaining to your readers why they should listen to you, and why they should want to invest in your work and your products. And so it is that platform to get you to position yourself.
Your About Us page can also help express how you can help your customers and even explain how you will work with them, setting the stage for that and really telling them this is what you can expect from us and our process will definitely impact their decision on whether they choose you or decide to work with somebody else. It's really all about the approach that you're going to take, not only on the About Us page, but explaining, this is what you can expect from us. This is the approach that we take in our interactions with the customers. And it can also invite your readers to take action. That's what it really should do, is to let your visitors know what you want them to do, whether it's sign up for your newsletter, make a purchase, read the blog, connect on social media. There are tons of different ways you can invite someone to take action. It just depends on what your goals are. And you can't automatically assume that your readers are going to understand that. That's why it's so important to put it out there straightforward and say, here's the next steps. This is what we want you to do.
Be very clear about that. It's very easy to circle the drain and never actually get into it. So,
exactly.
So that being said, let's talk about crafting your message. So now that you know what your About Us page should accomplish, let's get a little bit deeper into this. And as you're getting ready to put the pen to paper or fingertips to keyboard, there are a few things that you'll want to keep in mind.
Okay, so the first one is making your About Us page. You want to write it the way you would speak. You want people to feel like they're actually talking to you. Now, this doesn't excuse poor grammar, spelling mistakes, and all that kind of stuff, but you really should give them an idea of what it's like when they sit down face to face. And Paula Deen, I think, is a pretty good example of this. She says, hey, y'all, all the time. She's got the Southern drawl. It's a part of her as being someone that's from way South Georgia, and her South Georgia roots are really an anchor for her brand. And so that kind of all plays into her messaging, whether you're reading her blog, her cookbooks, her website, whatever, you can just kind of feel that. And then if you watch her cooking show, you just feel even more immersed into her brand, and you can see that's how she speaks. And you also want to write with the correct tone of voice that you would use to speak to your customers. This will help your writing reflect the type of relationship you want to have with your customers, and whether you're speaking to them as a friend or a trusted advisor or someone with expertise on whatever your business subject matter is. It's really just a matter of how you want your customers to approach you when you sit down and figure out, okay, what's the tone that I need to speak to them with?
Well, and this goes to one of the things I talk about with websites all the time is it's your international storefront. So you want that experience on that website to be, if not exactly the same, very similar to what it's going to be like when they either receive your product, walk into your store, pick up the phone and talk to you. You want that consistency across all of your marketing. I mean, that is the root of branding. So that tone of voice is important. You know, the way that the words are on the about page need to be the same way that when somebody picks up the phone that they're using that same type of language. That's the consistency that you want to start seeing across the board with all of your pieces. All right, so another important thing is the length of your content, and it's really up to you. And one of the things, we're talking about a lot of things that can go on there. You don't have to limit this to one page. You can have your about on a statement page, and then you could have your history, and then you can have your team, but really look at how you're going to have people experience that content, but don't feel like you need to cram it all in. It needs to be this super long piece, because remember, we live in a very busy world with many distractions. So it's best to say what you want with as few words as possible. But if you have a lot to say, figure out how to break it up so it feels digestible and that you're actually taking people through a journey. You know, we talk about call to action. That call to action could be just go to the next page. You know, here's our about us statements, but here, click here to read our history, or click here to meet our team. Just make sure you have something that's engaging people when they have to interact. That actual having to do something with your website and your brand commits them more. You know, we look at the success of a website. We look at things like, you know, how many pages do people go on? You know, how sticky is the site? And, you know, sometimes the about us call to action just needs to make sure that the site is sticky there. And it might not be pick up the phone and call. It could just be learn more. So. All right, so now that we've talked about some of the stuff that you should include on your About Us page, page that will help go a little further into building, introduce your business to your audience, build credibility, and then set you apart from the competition. So these are some things that we want to think about when we're actually looking at the specific content. All right, headshots and pictures. I am a huge advocate for having quality, professional, keywords there, pictures and headshots, and photos and videos of your culture and your business. There's a lot that goes into this. So many times a customer is going to only experience your brand and make a lot of decisions before they actually see your product or come to your store. And the pictures and your story there add to your credibility. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. But when people can actually see who they're going to talk to and that you have real people working for you, it adds to that you're legitimate. And I always find it really kind of dodgy when you come across a website that never mentions any names or pictures. That lack of ownership can really turn businesses away. People want to know that you stand behind your business, and they're really looking for a fun story, not just a product. So that's why it is such an important part of your website, and it is why, you know, the numbers don't lie. People go to this part because they can get a product from multiple sources, but they also want that story of why they're supporting you.
Next, we have links to your social media profiles. You really want your audience to feel comfortable connecting with you, not just on your website, but wherever you have a presence. And similarly, you want to connect with your audience wherever they are. So a lot of that is with us, we discover that with our clients during brand immersion, figuring out where their audience is and are they already there, and if not, creating a presence there. So whether it's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, you want those social media connections to be a part of your About Us page so that your audience can feel more comfortable interacting with you and your brand, and even get to know a little bit more here at Rock, Paper, Scissors, our social media accounts. That's kind of where we give behind the scenes look at all the fun things that go on here at the office, both with our work and then the things that are just a part of our culture. So we recently decorated for the holidays that are coming up. We've given a behind the scenes look at our Halloween pumpkin carving events. We post a lot of stuff about Run Club. So think about how you can connect your audience to those places where they're going to get an even more in-depth look at your brand.
Yep. All right, so another key content to put in there is the straight up values and facts about your organization. So this is where you can put facts about yourself, your business, your life, your career, your journey. And so you want to look at this for both the company itself and then also for any profiles of people on your team. So in short, it includes some details that demonstrate your qualifications and your position so that people can actually relate to you.
And we also suggest putting endorsements on there. Now, these are a little bit different from testimonials because endorsements come from your colleagues, or it can be industry publications that your work has been featured in. Again, this just helps build your credibility and showcase why people would want to work with you, even give people an idea of, if your work's been published in an industry publication, it might be that you gave a case study on how you solved a particular problem from a client. And so that's how people are going to get to know you and really feel comfortable contacting you to say, what are the next steps?
Also, this is a good point. You're going to put this throughout your website. It's going to be on your homepage, but re-emphasize what sets you apart from other similar businesses. This is the place to take your unique positioning statement as it relates to your story. So why have you distinguished yourself, and explain a little bit of part of that process. It goes back to people love a good story, and your branding and marketing needs to be about telling your story.
And you also want to give people examples of how you can help them. So briefly explain a situation and what you were able to do to help the customer solve their problem, whatever the case may be. It doesn't have to be long, like we said earlier, just a couple of sentences, and then you can link to the blog post that explains the story in depth, or the case study, or your portfolio piece that gives readers more detailed information about your process, specifics on the situation, and what the outcome was.
And then going back to have a call to action, have some next step so they know what to do. I talked about, whether that's actually picking up the phone, going to your store, or just going to the next page in your website.
And you also want a contact link or a form, and this is especially important if the goal of your call to action is to get people to contact you. Like we said earlier, you can't automatically assume that people are going to know what to do. You've really got to just put it out there and say, here's the next step. A lot of websites these days with the mobile responsiveness, if somebody's looking at it on their phone or their tablet, you can make that phone number to where they can just click on it and it automatically calls you, or we've got the example of the contact us form here, just really making it plain and simple. This is how you can get in touch with us for more information or to start your project, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of little things that can make up an About Us page, but we also were on the lookout for some questions. And so we have some questions that we want to touch base on to make sure that we're giving you guys some good feedback. All right, so first up, go for it, Valerie.
All right, this question says, if I have a large team of employees, should I include them on my About Us page, or would that make it too long? And
I think I answered that.
Yeah, Amanda answered that earlier.
Split it up. If it's a lot of content, and even if you want to keep it on one page, look at ways to break up that content, insert images, look at doing like a long, getting some of that parallax effect. So there's a little interactivity, maybe something moves. You want to make it engaging. The point of this is not to be a dull, boring textbook. This needs to be exciting. You want to build momentum and energy when people read this page.
All right, next question. I just started my business, so what's the best way to build trust with my audience through my About page, since we don't have a lot of examples to show for ourselves right now?
A lot of this goes to just tell your story of how you got to where you are, because typically you don't. No, it's not always the case, but typically you don't just go, I'm going to open up a store tomorrow and do it. You've had experiences in your life that have prepared you for the situation you're in now. And so tell that story. Tell about, I've had, I'm opening my own retail store because I've, done retail off and on throughout my career. I went and did corporate, and now I'm going back to it because that's my passion. Tell that story. That's how people are going to connect and relate to you. So even if you don't have the business history, go back to your personal history of whoever your core team that's launching this, that will help establish you. And then go revise it in a couple of years.
Yes, I was about to actually throw that in. Just remember to go back and make updates. Just set it on your calendar once a year, maybe at the beginning of every year, to look at your website and especially your About page and say, okay, what needs to be updated? And that's a good time, after you've been in business for 6 months, a year, whatever, you've probably built up that reputation and the examples that you can show show to your prospects, tongue-tied today, that, this is how I've helped people. This is, a part of my story, and this is how I can help you moving forward. So like Amanda said, update.
Yes.
And make it a priority to update. And then the last question we have here is, I don't have any endorsements or testimonials, so what can I put on my page in the meantime to help showcase experience and expertise until I have a few of these to include?
As I said, talk about your personal story, just as we answered earlier. But I want to kind of go back to a different principle with websites is your website is never done. And you need to keep that in mind when you launch it. So if you don't have it when you start, that's okay. Just launch with either, pull something from your past experience, or don't have anything until you feel like you have some good quality content. So once your site launches, you want to start building in, if not weekly or monthly, quarterly or biannually, something. You want to go in and update your website. So map out a plan of things that when you launch the site of, okay, these are things that I know I'm going to want to come back and do. And if you have that plan in place, it's a lot easier when you put it on your calendar. We've talked about content calendars, so I think that was last month. So go back and look at that. Updating your website should be part of your content calendar. If you go in and refresh your About page or your team bios, important as you add new team members, add them to that page as well to show that you're growing and changing. So I think it's really important to, put your best foot forward with what you have. Don't feel like you need to make up anything, but make sure that as you start to grow and expand that you add what you need to it as well. All right, that covers us for today. Thank you everyone for joining us for the most important page of your website, the About Us page. A recap of the webinar will be posted on our blog, so stay tuned to 123shoot.com, and also check out our YouTube channel or our blog for past content. We cover a lot of things about websites and marketing and branding, so we have quite a library there for you. And until next time, and until the new year, we'll talk to you guys in 2017. Thanks.